Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio Cortez called out Republicans over their odd priorities. We'll get to that clip in just a second. This is, of course, a response to the debt ceiling, and Republicans saying they'll agree to raise a debt ceiling if Democrats agree to massive spending cuts. But here's the problem, as I've talked about plenty recently. Number one, raising the debt ceiling is an absolute necessity, so using it as leverage in negotiations is dangerous. But also, we talked about this on yesterday's show. They say we have to cut spending to good programs because of the debt, but never seem to care about the debt when they're putting more wealth into the hands of the wealthy. We'll discuss that more after this.
10 years. So instead of looking at climate and instead of looking at cuts to healthcare, we should examine why our colleagues in the Republican Party is so invested in protecting the wealthiest people in this society and would rather attack healthcare and services for our veterans than repealing tax cuts for yacht owners and private jets. And with that, I yield my time.
She's 100% correct. And what we went over yesterday is that Democrats actually have a better record on the debt and the deficit than Republicans do. And the economy performs better under Democrats. So clearly their judgment on spending is better than Republicans. But in this moment, we have to watch as Republicans threaten to throw the economy into a disastrous situation by not raising the debt ceiling. And as we should continue to point out, they jacked up the deficit by over $1 trillion with the 2017 tax cut bill. That, by the way, over 80% of the benefits of that tax cut goes to the top 1%. But they didn't have an issue with that. And now they're very concerned about the debt and the deficit. Same cycle we go through over and over. We have another clip of AOC to get to in just a second. But first, in case you're a little bit fuzzy on what the debt ceiling is, quickly to review that. Congress in 1917 implemented a limit to how much the federal government could borrow, how much debt could be acquired. So now every time we get to that limit, Congress has to vote to raise it. What this means is if Congress were to say, no, we aren't raising it, then the U.S. government would not be able to borrow more money and continue fulfilling its financial obligations. As Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said, that means, quote, Social Security and Medicare benefits, military salaries, interest on the national debt, tax refunds, and other payments would not be able to be paid out. You can start seeing the disaster that this would cause. Importantly, it should be noted, if you're concerned about the amount the U.S. government is borrowing, then that should be fought for when the government is making taxing and spending decisions, not when it comes time to pay the bills. Because in a situation where we default on our debt, we wouldn't be able to pay the debt that is owed, paying back bondholders. So then this would obviously discourage future investments into government securities. There can't be any doubt that the United States will follow through on its financial promises. And that is what is being put at risk here. With that being said, here is one more moment from AOC.
Several years ago, we warned during the Trump tax cuts that this dramatic decrease in revenue would explode the nation's debt. And we heard from the Republican side, no, let us write off our yachts, yet let us write off our private jets. And we said that this decrease in revenue would explode our national debt. But instead now of realizing the error of our ways and reversing these tax cuts for the wealthy, we are now seeing the Republican side promote a bill that cuts student loan cancellation, veterans health care, cancer research, opioid treatment, Meals on Wheels, and more. Several years ago,
I really wish more Americans could be tuned in to the truth about what is going on here. The irrationality of the actions of the GOP in this moment are pretty stunning. But unfortunately, so many people will think Republicans are fighting for a just cause when that is just not the case. Let me know what you think, Luke P. Beasley on Twitter.